All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's resume the first unit, which is titled People and Places. Previously, we already tackled lessons one and two, which both focused on the lowlands, and then for lessons three and four, we'll start tackling the highlands. For lesson three, the title of the lesson is Highlands and Agriculture: The Case in the Kingdom of Lana. So, to give you an overview, a sketch of what will happen in this brief video discussion. First, we will define precisely what the concept of highland really means. Second, we will distinguish the highlands from the related concepts of lowlands and coastlands. And third, we will examine how people, okay, live in the highlands. Then fourth, we will confront an agricultural problem, meaning how do people adapt to their terrain? Habog siya, nga dili lowland, no? When mas lisod mo farm dito, diba? It's the fourth point. And then fifth section, we will study a historical case of a highland, particularly the kingdom of Lana. And finally, we will return to we will zoom out and return to the bigger topic of highlands in Southeast Asia. All right. So with that overview in mind, let's begin with the first point, which is we will define what a highland really is. So what is a highland? If you can see the screen, it's simply defined as a high, mountainous, or elevated land. Now, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by high? What high is high enough, di ba? How do you measure that? How elevated is or what how elevated should a land be for it to qualify to be a highland? So let's compare two categories. The first one we call the alluvial plains. And when we speak of alluvial plains, if you can read on the screen, it refers to a region that is about 600 meters above sea level. Okay. So notice how our measurement uses the sea level as the baseline. That's where 0 meters begins. And then you add 600 meters above. If it's roughly that having that height, then it's an alluvial plain. In contrast, mas habog kayo ang mountainous region because a mountainous region is typically at least 1,000 meters. That's equivalent to 1 kilometer above sea level. And take note, that's not just a difference in numbers, diba? Because if you really go significantly higher, na mountainous region, that entails a change in temperature, diba? Of course, it will be colder, diba? Above. The slope gradient will be different as well. Rainfall patterns will also differ. Oxygen levels will be lower, di ba? If you go at a higher elevation na maglisod ka ginhawa. And accessibility will also become more difficult the more elevated a place is. Here we see many examples. Many examples of highlands. But the first one presented in the picture is Mount Kota Kinabalu, and that's in Malaysia. That's a dramatic example of this type of elevation, habog, no? There's this steepness, steep gradients, and then there's a rugged terrain, dili straight, dili flat, right? So it's messy. So yeah, that environment is an example of a highland. Other examples. First, let's look at the one at the top left. That's in Vietnam, in Sapa, Vietnam. We see there rice terraces, diba, which cling to mountain slopes. And we'll later talk about how the creation, the innovation that will create rice terraces is actually a response to a problem, no, in how to produce rice kung high ang elevation, dili sa flatland nga may river nga nay daghang fertile nga yuta and water. So there's an example of a highland in Vietnam. At the upper right, you also see a volcano. That's in Indonesia. We call that the Rinjani volcano, Indonesia. It's a volcanic terrain which rises sharply from the surrounding landscape. That's also a type of a highland. Kahabog man siya. And in Myanmar as well, kananas ubos, we see the Hakakabo Razi and the Gamlang Razi Tower over surrounding valleys. So these are different examples of highlands. And take note, no? So kindly pause for a while and kindly realize how these are different countries, diba? Different locations in Southeast Asia. These are um, populated by people of different languages, different cultures, different religions. They also have different political systems. However, notwithstanding that diversity, that variety, they share something in common. No? And that something in common, and at least in this case, is grounded, no, in their geography. The existence of highlands, no, which ensures that there's a baseline by which communication can occur, unity can occur across the region. Right. Having seen those examples of uplands or highlands, let's now proceed with the second agendum, which is distinguishing a highland from the two other types of landscapes, di ba? Which are lowlands and coastlands. Asaan na ang highland among the three pictures? Of course, it's the upper left, no, which is in Batad in the Philippines. Na po yung murag rice terraces, right? Asa po na ang um asaan na ang coastland? Of course, the second one, the upper right, no? Nasa upper right. And then the one below, kanang second one, by the way, is called, what's the name of that? That's the Mekong Delta. No, the Mekong Delta. And the one below is in Bali, Indonesia, which is an example of a lowland. All right. So, yeah, let's then proceed with what makes really the example at the upper right an example of an upland, di ba? Mamadyo na. So, how do we distinguish between them, right? Of course, the elevation mo gina o gilain, no? It's very easy distinction. It's the elevation. Layo siya sa dagat, no? Dili pud siya flat, no? It's an elevated land. It's an upland. Right. So yun, that's very basic, no? That's grade one, no, at least elementary level, no, the distinction between the different types of lands. But we now transition to the people, no, the people living in these highlands or lands, and that's what makes it a little more complicated, right? So we now transition from the physical geography to the human geography, you know, the cultural geography of the people that live, you know, the communities that live in the highlands. Consider kani nga photos. The people in the upper left, you see here the communities in Doi Mei Salong, which is in Thailand. And then the second one, kana nasa upper right, um, there's also another photo reflecting the Mae Hong Son province, no? Which is still in Thailand. How about the one below? That's the Pho Lang Thai. What do you observe? Lahi sila nga places, no? What are the differences and the similarities across the communities, across different highlands? Now, notice, um, in highlands dun, settlements are often smaller, diba? Mas gamay og tao. And they're usually more dispersed. Katag sila. And houses as well are designed or adapted to dili flat nga land, even nga land. And agriculture as well follows contour lines. And infrastructure is much more limited compared to um, urban lowlands. So mo dyan ay major nga characteristic, no, sa community sa highlands. Mas katag sila ang mga communities, mga balay, and we also notice how mas gamay tao, right? Yeah, and the rugged terrain has to be mo-adjust ang mga tao ang rugged terrain. All right. Now, compare that, no, to many urban lowland centers. Kung ano kayo, no, kanang lahi ra jud daghan jud kay tawo ng lowland urban siya nga places. Lowlands support denser populations, right? Wider roads, trade networks, centralized institutions. It's really the difference. So this brings us to our first conclusion, which is that physical geography, of course, influences the density of the settlement or settlement density, the infrastructure, no, in that place, and the economic orientation. Now, this brings us to attention, a certain problem. We call that the agricultural problem. So, suppose you live somewhere sa highlands, no, in a community in the highlands. Um, your population, for example, is growing across time, and your staple food, because we're Asians, so Southeast Asians, your staple food is rice, bugas. So that's the main jud mga luto nga kanon. That's your primary dietary base. Now, of course, because yeah, the population is increasing, you need more food, di ba? However, what problem do you encounter if you're in the highlands? Rice traditionally grows best in flat, water-retaining paddies, di ba? On a slope, of course, kung gahiwi, ang water simply dagay dayra na paubos, right? Dili siya makasupport sa farm, right? So dili mag-gather ang tubig. Soil as well in slope, soil erodes, di ba? So ang fertile nga yuta sa babaw manaog. So yeah, the farm is not productive enough to support your growing population. So in that scenario, in that situation, how will you solve the agricultural problem, di ba? How do you increase production to support the growing population? You, because we're human beings, we're intelligent, we engineer the mountain, di ba? We change the terrain. This brings us to the innovation of rice terraces. So, unsa man ang rice terraces? A rice terrace is simply a flat platform that we human beings carved into a slope, supported by retaining walls, such that water is channeled from higher terraces to lower ones. The slope becomes a vertical irrigation system. Mana? So I know you know how a rice terrace looks like. So yeah, it's a solution, no? A UN solution to the problem of growing need for food because of increasing population, but then dili ka support naturally ang land. So we modify our environment. So take note, this solution is not just located in, for example, in the Banahaw rice terraces. It's common, no? The creation of rice terraces is common across Southeast Asia. In Bali, for example, terraces carved through volcanic hills. In Ifugao, sa Philippines, especially sa Ifugao province, terraces transform mountainsides into layered agricultural systems. So different societies, but then they share the same environmental constraint. And because we share a common nature and we're intelligent, we know we have the same patterns of technological adaptation. This sharedness, no? This sharedness of across the region emerges from a shared ecological necessity. Now, okay. So medyo abstract to siya. Medyo big picture, no? Let's zoom in to a specific historical case that embodies this pattern. And we're now talking about the Kingdom of Lana. The Kingdom of Lana was located in the northern highlands of what today is Thailand. Now, I'm sure daghan mo ideas about Thailand, no? It's a landlocked country, pinaka-least nga gisulong og colonizer, di ba? But yeah, its capital is Chiang Mai, di ba? And Chiang Mai, karaan kila siya, Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai was founded in 1296. Lana existed roughly between the 13th and the 18th centuries. But the kingdom did not emerge in isolation, kaning Lana ba? Dili siya solo. For example, the Mon people Um, the Mon people influenced the region culturally and religiously. The Bagan Kingdom, for example, in Myanmar pod, shaped trade, Buddhism pod, and legal traditions. Thai-speaking groups migrated southward and consolidated power under leaders such as King Mangrai. This region was a crossroads. Agianan ni siya. Upland and lowland networks intersected here. This brings us to the year 1441 and until 1526. We call that the Golden Age of Lana. Now, in that Golden Age, of course, it's called a Golden Age because it's a period of economic stability. And wala sila kayo sa kupa, no, in that period. They had a political cohesion. And culturally as well, daghan sila na-produce na art, no, fine artistic and cultural expressions. Paintings, no, grabe ka-visible gyapon in the different temples. For example, you see in the picture here, di ba, na murals no, sa Wat Phu Min in Nan, Thailand, depicting daily life of Thai people. Now, temples, such as kanina sa picture, no, preserve murals depicting daily life of Thai communities. If you look at the picture, na, you see how their culture is very rich, di ba? Saan ang ilang gipanggunitan. That shows how their daily life is um, depicted there na ay jars, di ba? Na ay so man nagipang bit-bit diha. So that's their form of architecture as well. It's depicted there. So social interaction markets, di ba? I think that's a market. Yung tanawon na maligya, right? It's a market. So it's a booming economy at the time as well. So it's a very sophisticated culture. It's a very sophisticated kingdom in its golden age. Right. However, take note, what we have seen earlier is that geography shapes the lives of the people, di ba? Living in that place. So we see that exemplified now. In the late 16th century, after na sa Golden Age, gisulong sila. Expanding powers, particularly Siam sa south and the katong sa Burmese kingdoms in the west, integrated Lana into the larger territorial states. So nawa, nalusaw siya because nasudra siya into bigger states, no? Na under siya ba, na subjugate. That shows us something about highlands pod. Ano may problema sa highlands politically? Highlands are often politically vulnerable. Ano vulnerable man? Not because the kingdoms are intrinsically weak, but simply because kung highland ka, gipalibutan ka usually, of course, ug lowland powers, di ba? Lowlands are usually more populous biya, di ba? They're usually more urban. And usually power concentrates around the highlands because puro man na urban nagapalibot ana. So dali mura siya nabira across different powers, di ba? So that's it, no? That's the end of the golden age of Lana. No, wala siya ka-flourish on its own, na-subjugate siya by the late 16th century. All right. So we see there a case, no, a case in point of a highland and the perplexities of the people living there. Let's zoom out again. Balik ta from micro to macro. Um, sige. Can you take a look at this image? O, kung imo makitaan. The same picture, di ba? Price terraces. So, from that pattern we see, from that exact image we see, malagi to innovation to respond to needs. So we've become repetitive because we're reiterating the point that sa Tumoy, it's actually a shared it's a shared experience. So let's end here with a summary. Rice terraces are common in highlands in many parts of Southeast Asia. These terraces show how people adapt their environment to fit their needs. All right. So that pattern is true in different locations again in Myanmar, Indonesia, in Vietnam. All right. So conclusion. Um, Mainly, minority communities live in the mountainous areas, whilst majority populations tend to live in the lowlands. We've explained that already. Highland peoples across the region adapt their environments in similar ways and share similar ways of life. Some differences do exist between highlands and lowlands. All right. So, if you followed the discussion so far, what we see very prominent here is the idea that you cannot really isolate a study of the peoples of Asia without looking at the geographical context in which they're in. And I hope you learned something. Thank you so much, and see you.